Good morning. I want to get on here and do a quick update for you. This is Sunday morning. Obviously, it's early in the morning and I'm still trying to wake up, but I wanted to get this message out to you because we need your help. And I'll kind of explain what's happening once everything gets kind of up and running. And so we have a work session tomorrow on House Bill 4145. That's going to be at 3 p.m. in, I believe, hearing room B up there in the Capitol. And so I want you to kind of know, what we need to do today. If you guys have some free time, if you guys can help, it would be really appreciated because what we need to do is we need to blow up Rep Croft's inbox. And so I'm kind of going to talk about, what I'm thinking that we should do, and we'll go from there. And let me get this thing shared and we'll talk about it. So I hope you guys are doing good. It's early. It's the last thing I want to do on a Sunday morning is do a stream, but I think it's, if we could spend a little bit of time today kind of prepping for tomorrow, it would really be helpful. And so kind of what I'm envisioning for this. So they announced two amendments yesterday. Obviously, one is from Rep Croft, and obviously it's basically a streamlined version of the original bill. Not really anything good for us. And so, but what is good for us is the fact that the carve outs are still there, the fee is still there, the fact that the fingerprint cards are still there. So there's all these things are really good for us still because those were our leverage to get this thing killed. And so, I'm hoping today that we could all kind of put in a little bit of time and hopefully kind of push back on this bill, right? And hopefully it could die in committee. And so that's the goal, is to kill this thing in committee. We did have another amendment that was introduced by Ed Deal, which basically would move the effectiveness date out to 2028, and which would buy us time, which we need time. But in this situation, I'm trying to really kill it. I want to kill it in committee, and this is how we're going to do it. So if you guys can hear this, see this, I see it's like people are tuning in. I'm not seeing any comments yet, so I don't know if it's my system that's just kind of getting warmed up or not. So, so what this looks like for tomorrow. So we have a work session that's scheduled for 3 p.m. and so today, if we could spend some time, and I'll put all the information in here so you guys kind of know what we need to say, how we need to say it, and what we can do is we can flood his inbox. Okay, so I'll put the information there. You guys can, at your leisure, send a quick email, say hey, and put House Bill 4145 in the title of your email when you send it in. Obviously, be respectful, but be firm and say no more. Okay. What they're doing up there is they're creating a perfect storm, and this is something that I would kind of get through to them. They're creating this perfect storm where they have, obviously, my focus is House Bill 4145, but they also have 1559, or excuse me, 1599. And then there's also IP 28, which is the anti-hunting bill. So they're creating this perfect storm for Oregon gun owners because you're going to have record turnout. Okay. So that's what I would kind of use in my advantage to the email to him and say, hey, you're not listening to the people. The people are going to show up in record numbers, and you're going to have a new governor out of it. There's all these things that are going to come out of this. Okay. So I would use that to our advantage and say, hey, you're not listening to the people. The people are going to speak in November. So we want 4145 to die in committee. Okay. Full stop. Okay. And so that's the way I would go after that. Okay. So I just think it's really, really important there is they need to know that we're watching this, we're paying attention, we're actively engaged, and we're not going to accept this thing to move forward. The way it's been proposed, the way we got a public hearing the first day of the session, and this thing has been trying to ram through every step of the process. The reason that it was held up the other day is because they didn't have the vote in that committee. Okay. And they haven't taken out that language that was holding those two Democrats out. Okay. So it's basically the same thing. So there's a really great chance if we put the pressure on them, this is what's going to make this thing just go away. So we have to be firm. We have to stand together, and we have to make sure that we say no more. Okay. No more restriction. Okay. Because this is a bad bill. It's flawed. and it does not fix the issues that we are facing as a state. They're trying to band-aid Measure 114. This is not the right approach. Okay. Ramming this through in the short session, this is not the way this is designed to work. And he needs to know about it. And he needs to know that he's going to pay a political price for that. And so be very, very firm with that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll put all the information. I'll put a link to the amendment on YouTube. I'll also put Jason Croft's email address there. Please take 10 to 15 minutes, send him an email, say House no on House Bill 4145 on the in the title of that email, and then put your own comments, right? Say that it, and obviously talk about the fees, talk about the carve out for law enforcement that's still there. Talk about the FBI fingerprint cards, So, that's where I'm getting at here is if you're factual with the information, it's going to resonate and hopefully it'll wake them up, right? So there's things that he put in this amendment that we woke him up when we had a meeting with him on Monday, the first day of the session. Tony Aiello and I did, and so that's something to think about. And so I think, if we're just firm, there's a really great question here. And so, yeah, absolutely. That would be an option, but obviously it's not going to happen in the short term. So the short term, like this is a great idea, and I think this is something we could get behind. But in the short term, we're just trying to make it through this session without any more legislation being passed. So I like the concept, and I feel that people are rallied. I think there's enough people, and that's where I would kind of almost go with him is put it back on the ballot. Like I guarantee, put Measure 114 back on the ballot, and I don't think you're going to have the same results. I think people, they were misled by the original verbiage. They were lied to by the chief petitioners, Lift Every Voice Oregon. And so this whole thing was been a fraud. And it's based on a fraud. And so now they're expecting the Constitution to be upheld on something that's fraudulent. And so I feel that, the only right thing to do is put it back on the ballot. It's 100% misleading. And it's because they only had 500 words to describe the bill. They couldn't say it did all these different things in 500 words. It's impossible. And so, that's where, we have to, this is our chance, man. If we can, work together, send these emails today and just say, hey, no more. And hopefully we can get this thing to time out. That's our goal. And so I wanted to do a video earlier so you guys can kind of see it and hopefully spend some time to help buy us some time, so that's what I think it's really, really important. So if I can leave you with that is, we can win this if we work together. And so I know the last thing I want to do on a Sunday is send an email. Last thing I want to do is do that. But I feel that we're in a really good spot because the amendment they did is it didn't satisfy ceasefire Oregon because it still has the same language in there. And those people are on the opposite end of the spectrum from us. And so the fact of, they're not going to be happy with this. That's not a big win for Jason Croft, so I feel that, we have more in common with our enemies right now because of just the way this bill was written. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So I think this is really true. I think it's all about control. And the problem is they don't have the control. I mean, you look at the numbers, like we had record people turning out for the gas tax. They're trying to circumvent the process by moving it to May. There's all these different things that they're doing up there. And this is my lane. I focus on the guns, but there's a lot of crossover. When we're talking about IP 28, the anti-hunting bill. Like this is like, get that thing on the ballot. Okay. We're going to show up in record numbers and we're going to stop it. And what it's going to do is it's going to get us new leadership in the government. And so that's what I would tell him is he is awaking a sleeping giant. The moment that Tina Kotek signs 4145 into law, you're going to guarantee a Republican governor. And mark my words, okay? There's going to be enough people that are going to come out of the woodwork for the gas tax, for this one, also IP 28. I mean, we have to see the writing on the wall. People are tired. They're sick and tired of being tired and sick, or I probably messed that one up. I'm tired. It's been a long couple weeks. So but I want to make sure you guys know they don't care about the people. They want to control us, right? Because they know the only thing that keeps us free is the ability to have a semi-automatic rifle, right? That's the last bastion of hope is the semi-automatic rifle. And so, that's what keeps us free is America's rifle. And so obviously I hope it never gets anything like that, but the thing is they just keep pushing and they keep, just death by a thousand paper cuts. And so just something to think about there, we're in it together, we're in it to win it, and that's what we're going to do. And so in Salem, Oregon, yes, that's where that meeting's going to be. The public hearing is going to be, or excuse me, the work session is going to be tomorrow, 3 p.m. And what we can do is we can, send an email today. Obviously put House Bill 4145 in the header of that email, put your thoughts, and finish up and say, hey, you know, you're going to pay at the ballot box because we're going to show up. We're going to show up in force and we're going to show up like you've never seen before. And we're going to make sure that everybody that was in support of this bill is going to lose their job. So that's the best thing we can do. And so there's been some good Republicans coming out in support of us. And so once we kind of get through this, I'd like to do a kind of a thank you for them because they are standing with us. They've been very, very helpful and listening to us like as gun owners. And so we have some great people that are working on our behalf. So just know we're all working the way we need to work. And so it takes all of us, right? So we got to work the same way and row in the same direction. So that's why, right here, we just got to believe, right? We got to trust. Obviously, there's the fraud is an issue here. Mail-in ballots is an issue, but I think that if there was enough of us that come out and say no more, and we have to show up and vote, right? We have to vote for, might not be the perfect candidate, but we got to vote for the candidate that can win. Okay, so that's what I'll say here: is there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. There's only a candidate that can win, and this is something that we have to get through to ourselves and make sure that we're part of this process. And so I know it's hard for some, but it's something that's really, really important. So I don't want to take too much more of your time. It's early. I appreciate you guys tuning in, but please, please, please send an email. I'm going to be up there early tomorrow morning. I've got some meetings first thing. My meetings first thing tomorrow morning are going to set up a tone for the day. If I can get the answer, and I have to be kind of vague, and I apologize for that. And I think we should understand that if I can get these 2 meetings under my belt, and if they're successful, and I'll report to everybody after I go through the meetings. I just don't want to jinx things. I don't want to mess anything up. I think that's going to tell us a lot about what's going to happen tomorrow. And so obviously I will let you know kind of what's going on. So watch Facebook, watch YouTube, and what I'll do is I'll do updates as frequent as I can with all the things that are happening up there. Obviously, tomorrow's the last day for these bills to move, and so what that means is if House Bill 4145 does not get scheduled for another committee or goes to the House floor, right? Because it has to get a second reading. It also has to get the final reading with the vote. Okay. And they're pressed for time. So this has to move tomorrow. Tomorrow's the deadline. And so if they do not get this thing out of the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow, the thing dies. It times out. Okay. So this is like our we're holding that line right now. Okay. So really important note there. Okay. So it's a time crunch issue for everybody, and there's a lot of bills that are working, and so that's something to be aware of there. I got a comment. No, this is not the way. This is not the way. Okay. And so the reason I say that is there's a lot at play here. There's a lot at stake here. They're not going to walk out for the guns. Okay. I'll tell you right now. So, they might walk out for the tax bill. There's other things that they might do to walk out, but it's not going to be, we should be focusing on the other side. And what I mean by that is on the House side is going to be the best thing for us. Okay. The best thing for us is, and if this does get out of the committee, then my target is going to change. Okay. So If this thing does get out of the committee, and I'm talking hypotheticals here, if it does go out to the House floor, then we're going to have to target House Democrats, and we can provide the talking points, and we're going to do this whole thing again, to hopefully encourage a no vote. I do have some things up my sleeve there that I can't really talk about, unfortunately, but I've got a plan, and I feel that it could work. So we're going to do what we're doing in this committee on a bigger scale, and it's going to take all of us sending emails, our reps, our senators. Okay, so we're going to try to keep it in the contained in the House, because if it goes over to the Senate, we don't have the numbers that we have in the House. So our best bet is to keep it here, and hopefully we can just make it go away. That's our goal. So no more restrictions. Okay, no more. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I wanted to give you that update. So House Bill 4145, send an email today. I'll put all the information, make it easy for you to do so. That's how we win. Okay. We just got to put pressure on them. They have to know that they are going to pay for this at the ballot box, and we have to show up and vote. So it's really, really important. Okay. So just make sure you put no on House Bill 4145 in the title there, and be respectful, but be firm and say, we're not going to accept this, and we're watching. And this is not how a representative government is designed to work. So, um, yes, I am working on that. I am working. We do have some supporters that are actively working on our behalf. One of them he introduced an amendment. So, they're paying attention. Okay, so they know that they need us. They need the gun owner, and so that's where we do have some power and some leverage there. We just got to make sure that we follow through and vote. So that's something to think about. So so what I'm talking about now, and thanks for tuning in, is we have an amendment. We have actually had two amendments to House Bill 4145. There's a work session tomorrow. What I need people to do is to send an email in opposition to House Bill 4145. So put no on 4145 in the title of your email, and then email Rep Croft, and make sure you're firm and say no more. And I'd love to see 1,000 emails. I'd love to see 1,000 emails going into his inbox where he has to manage those, and that's going to wake him up. And talk about the fact that we're ready for new leadership, and this is just the motivating factor that we need to get new leadership here in the state of Oregon. So that's about all I got. I gotta go. I gotta go back to work. But I'll keep you posted. I'll put all the information in here so you guys can see it. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll make it as easy as I can for you. Just clock in, do 10, 15 minutes of work, and then tomorrow we'll know how successful we were. But I have hope, man. And I'm not gonna give up. So please don't give up on me. So that's where I'm at. We're in it to win it. In it to win it. And we're playing a good game, and I'm proud. I'm proud of the people that we have in place that are doing the work on your behalf, and things are tomorrow could be huge. So that's all I'll say. I got to be somewhat vague just because I got to protect things, but we are working the way we need it to work. So you guys have a happy Sunday. Enjoy your families, but give me 15 minutes of your time, please. And it'll really help me. It'll believe it or not, these emails, because I'm gonna go see him third. If you blow up his inbox, I'm gonna go in there. That's gonna embolden me. That's gonna empower me to do the work that I need to do on your behalf. Okay. So if you can help me today and send these emails and blow up that inbox, that's gonna make my job so much easier tomorrow. So help me help you. Okay. So thank you guys. You guys have a happy Sunday, and I will see you all in a later video. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.